It is my pleasure today to be with you on this new Arabology online series in which I am attempting to interview artists and musicians from around the world, specifically from the Arab world, about their amazing work. Some of them will be new interviews, and some of them will be favorites who have come back in audiovisual form. My guest today is the one and only Tamer Al Ahmar, whose art has graced the Arabology show many times in the past. This is our first time speaking face-to-face on video, which is a venture that will be able to incorporate some of Tamer Al Ahmar's art as he speaks about it. Tamer, first of all, ahla wa sahla and marhaba to the online Arabology show.
Marhaba, Dr. Ramzi. Thank you for having me today. Actually, I'm so delighted for the chance of showcasing my art to a global audience. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Tamer Anjad. لأنه I know over there in Amman, Jordan, where you are, it's well after midnight, and we really appreciate the fact that you're staying up with us to take us through an artistic journey. I know you and I have done interviews before by radio. In fact, we've done more than one, and I've always had such amazing input, but people have had to go to your Instagram page, to your Facebook artist page, in order to get an idea about what you're talking about. Today, inshallah, for the first time, as you speak, we will be featuring the work that you are discussing. And I'd love to start our artistic journey where it all began, and that is in your childhood, leading me to my first question, Tamer. In English or in Arabic, I'd like you to discuss a little bit your childhood and how that may have affected your artistic journey to come, including or leading up to the figures that you eternalized through your digital art.
Well, I've grown up in a small family. Actually, I have only one sister, and there is a big difference between us age-wise. So that gave me the space to explore my world in my own. Besides that, I've been really interested in art, and I've spent all my time drawing. So my orientation was we're going to being a fashion designer. And I think from there, I started to explore my passion for art.
Tamer, were you the kind of kid who was artistic? Would you consider that to have been sort of a natural inclination for you when you were a child?
Well, actually, yes, because such talents, they come by nature. Like you can learn the skill to draw, or you can learn the skill to play music. But if you don't have that talent or the passion for this art, you won't excel in it, and you won't enjoy it. So yeah, I've been enjoying the fact that I can draw, that I can paint.
Ever since you were a kid, huh?
Yes.
And so, I know that your childhood was, alhamdulillah, a happy one, but artistically speaking, your journey really sort of developed in stages. And if you don't mind, Tamer, I would like to kind of go chronologically through some of your journey while stopping at the highlights and allowing you the chance to expand and give us much needed details about each stage. Do you mind if I go right to the year 2008 and this very colorful, brilliant magazine or comic that is called Kids Times, and that I think sort of exemplifies the very first stage of your artistic career. Can you tell me a little bit about that stage, that magazine, and how that informed your later works?
Actually, I've been trying and exploring all the types of art at the university, specifically because I've been attending art classes and trying to paint in oil colors and oil paintings. At the meantime, there was a new magazine in Jordan called Kids Times Magazine. It's a magazine for kids in English. And I got the first issue by chance, and I thought that my style of cartoon looks like their style. So I decided to contact them, and we had an interview, and they hired me as a comic artist. And this was my first professional step regarding my art, where I got more confidence about my talent because I lacked that confidence back then. I thought that I have to be fine art graduate to work in art or to be considered as an artist. However, this step has opened doors for me. And we started with a cartoon character. It's called Frou Frou Adventures. And I started with 2 pages only. After that, they increased to become 4 pages. And after that, I started to create more characters, designing the cover. And yeah.
So you were featured in more than one issue of this magazine.
All the issues.
Wow, mashallah. And I do remember in our radio interview, we'd always concentrate on that character of Frou Frou, that beloved character that kids loved. But certainly what I found out since is the fact that you have also illustrated many other figures for these magazines, many of which we were looking at right now. And the other thing, damn it, is that the magazine itself is a real magazine. We're not talking about just a digital online magazine. I bet that magazine is hard to find these days. Would you happen to have a copy of it still, or are they out of print?
Yeah, for sure. I have all the issues. Yeah.
No. Tayyib, good to keep them in your collectibles. I'm seeing so many beautiful collectibles around you over there. I hope that Kids Time magazine, which is no longer in circulation, right, Tamer?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Since then, and so I guess these issues have become collectible. And thank you for sharing with us some of these amazing images from the Kids Time magazine. To me, that is your beginning, your artistic beginning in terms of the foray that lies ahead. And I think that maybe the next stop into the digital world for you after Frou Frou would have to be around what, 2011, 2012? Where was Tamer Al Ahmar then, leading up to, of course, the 2013 Asmahan iconic piece that I'd like to discuss a little later?
Well, as I told you, I've been exploring what types of art that I'm more interested in. So after the magazine has closed, I found myself interested in digital art. So I tried to continue in doing cartoons and comics. However, many of my friends and family members asked me to draw digital art portraits for them. So I found myself enjoying that, actually drawing people instead of only cartoon. So I created a Facebook page and I started to post my work there, all my work, pencil, oil painting, and even digital art. And people started to contact me to draw them. So I started to think about it more seriously. And yeah, from there I developed my skills at the digital art.
Do these friends still have, of course, the work that you've done for them?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm sort of foreshadowing the fact that you went on to eternalize some true cultural icons from the Arab world. And to me, those lucky friends who had a work eternalized by you prior to the fame that ensued, I think are very lucky indeed. And what I'm basically alluding to is really the year 2013. Tamer. Now, as you may know, this was the year that I was in Amman, Jordan, and I was going around different cafes, different spaces, different artistic venues in Amman, Jordan, and everywhere I would look, people were either exhibiting work by Tamer Al Ahmar or speaking about Tamer Al Ahmar. Now, I did not know you, but I do remember that iconic picture of Asmahan, which immediately grabbed my attention. And little did I realize at the time that this was part of a series. But let's concentrate first on that tableau, that work. As a first piece of art, would you consider that to be sort of the first real impact you had on a mainstream wide audience in Amman?
Definitely. Actually, that piece we were talking about Asmahan now. It was in 2013. Well, the process of producing this image was a journey of exploring my passion and exploring myself. Because as you know, at the beginning of your 20s, you start to explore yourself and to know what you're passionate about. So I found myself enjoying or attracted to music, to interior design, to fashion. So I wanted to create something that merge all these types of artistic things together. And beside that, I was listening to very old and classical Arabic music, and out of no previous thinking, I found myself creating an illustration for Asmahan. And because I was so influenced by her story, by her voice, and by her look. So yes, I did that with passion, and I think this is the reason why it was successful.
Yeah. Can you tell our listeners or our viewers who Asmahan is for those people who don't know who she is?
For sure, she's a Syrian singer. She was born in Syria, then she moved to Egypt at the age of 3. She had an amazing voice, but her life was short because they say that someone got her murdered, or it was a long story actually, very complicated. However, she has a very beautiful, famous songs, and I'm sure every Arab person can know her
Me,
songs.
me included, as a proud Arab American, I think we all have a memory that's associated with an Asmahan song. We should mention, Tamer, that I think she was around in the 40s, right? Is
Yeah.
when her heyday was. And although, as you mentioned, she died under mysterious circumstances, her music still lives on. And it is maybe worth it to say that, to ask you your age at this point. How old are you, Tamer?
Well, now I'm 31.
Right. And when you drew the Asmahan, or when you created the Asmahan piece, you were still in your 20s. And I think this is something that's worth pausing on, because it's a tribute, I think, to these icons, that they have survived not only time, but generations. I mean, this was my own father's youth that through me continued. And it is so refreshing to see that your generation, which you were just in your 20s, decided to eternalize Asmahan in that. Can we talk about the pose? Can we talk about the actual piece? Because I think there's a lot more going on in that piece that the viewer may initially realize.
Well, the pose, it's actually not an actual pose that she did. I imagined her that way. I've put her at that position because it shows power. At the same time, it shows that she's sad somehow because she lived a sad life. So I wanted to show that silent beauty of her beside the oud at the right side, which shows that uh, she's an amazing singer, and the calligraphy behind her is from one of her very famous songs.
Wow.
So that combination was for a purpose, for sure, to deliver a message about her.
So, which song was it? Do you remember the lyrics to which song were included in the background to the Asmahan picture? Was it Ya Habibi Ta'ala Al-Hani, or another one?
No, it was امتى حتعرف.
Ah, okay. When will you know? Imta hataraf imta, beautiful song there. And so that painting, which I think you initially conceptualized as a piece that came to you without any sort of pre-planning, actually
Yes.
led to a series. So if you don't mind, would you take us through the other, I'm going to call them Diva, that ended up forming a series that was really a tribute to Arab women and to Arab music in general?
Well, actually, what encouraged me to do the series is the great feedback that I got about this illustration. And since I started to create the series, it ended up being a set of six paintings or digital art for six different female singers. And after that, I added another two male singers. But yeah.
Yeah, so who are the six female singers that you just mentioned? From Asmahan, you went to.
To فيروز كلثوم نجاة الصغيرة صباح and وردة الجزائرية.
Wow, wow. And also that it's interesting to see that you picked, icons from all over the Arab world. They weren't necessarily all from, Al-Mashriq or Al-Maghrib. I mean, even including Warda al-Jazairiyya sort of brings the Arab world together. This series wasn't then necessarily conceptualized as a series for you, Tamer, like when you did Asmahan. It wasn't your intention to go on to do other female singers. It was just conceptualized as a one-time work.
No, I did not think about making a series actually, but I found myself getting so much into the mood of the first illustration for Asmahan. So I started to imagine all the previously mentioned singers at the different positions with the same style and same atmosphere to make them all belong to the golden age that I want to highlight on.
I think that was that the title for the series, Women from the Golden Age, or something like that. I mean, if you were to give it an unofficial name, would that you
Yeah,
think? Yeah, yeah. And although some of these amazing women are gone and some of them are still alive, Sayyida Fairuz being one of those, I do want to stop and pause a little bit on the Fairuz one, where we see her beautiful hair that gets intertwined, as we can see, into her name in Arabic. Now, I think that piece single-handedly got so much exposure through the internet that you found yourself eventually seeing it pop up on different websites. Now, some people were kind enough to give you, as the artist, the credit, but then it became such a part of this digital art movement that people started using it as if it was just all in the archives, always available. Did you expect that piece to have the impact that it did on the world of digital media, as well as from Fairuz fans, who I think were devouring that port and sort of sharing it across all social media?
well, actually, I don't think it was a big surprise because the illustration itself was very simple. As you see, there's no many details. It's very basic with her face and only her name. I think because of that simplicity, it was used in or going viral because anything related to Fairuz, I think people they directly love it and interact with it. And
Yeah.
to be at this style, it made it easier.
But along with that comes the responsibility, because there is such a huge Fairuz fan base that if it wasn't, sort of what they saw as up to par, then the criticism would have been quite intense. Alhamdulillah, in your case, it was embraced, it was shared by so many Fairuz fans and sites, and it continues to generate income. Tamer, does it bother you when your work becomes so popular that people start using it without necessarily giving you credit?
Well, actually, I had to deal with that for many times, because at the beginning it was very bothering, and it's still bothering, but for certain illustrations, I do believe that for as much as people, they love it, you can't stop them. And when you draw like an icon, we're talking about Fairuz, I'm doing it for the fans of Fairuz, as a tribute for Fairuz, not only to make it exclusive for me or put so much restrictions over it. So with certain illustrations, I'm more flexible, or I tolerate with this act. But for sure, it's really unprofessional and violating the copyrights and the creative production.
But then, as you said, maybe you reach such a degree of fame that, you know, it's just you cannot control what's out there, and take comfort in the fact that the work is being disseminated incessantly through social media. Now, with the series that we talked about, you know, and the success it received, I think that, you know, not to put words in your mouth, but I think it led to two things. One of them was the male series, which I'd like to come back and talk about. But before that was sort of the reincarnation of Fairuz in your art in different poses as well. I mean, we keep talking about the iconic one, but there's also, you know, I remember one with her sitting next to the Lebanese flag, right?
Yes.
Was that part of what we're envisioning as a series as well, or is that sort of a post-series representation?
No, this one belongs to the series that I started with Asmahan.
And so let me talk about how you imagine these women, the clothes they wear, the poses they're doing, you know. And one of the things you mentioned already on the interview, and shouldn't be gone unnoticed, is the fact that these are not replicates of photos that exist. It's not like you find a picture of Asmahan, as so many artists do, and recreate it, keeping the same pose or the same clothes. In your case, you've taken this icon and you've contextualized her within a completely different framework. What kind of thought goes into the pose, the clothing, as you imagine these divas, some of which seem to me placed within a modern context, when they've been, you know, when they passed away a long time ago?
As I mentioned before, because I'm interested in interior design, I'm interested in fashion, and the concept behind creating these illustrations is to bring them to life and to make them closer to the modern age and to the young generation. So I had to put them in a modern context. However, I wanted to keep them in an elegant, classical look. So that combination of maybe, we're talking now about the first series, the combination of using some piece of furniture, we're talking about the couches, and choosing the fabrics, choosing maybe the background, using the calligraphy, and dressing them up only in black. However, in different dresses and designs, the idea behind dressing them in black is to focus on their face and on their like character or
Right.
history.
Exactly. I could almost imagine Asmahan sitting like that, although I don't remember seeing a picture of her. But somehow it fits. It's not just a tribute to her, but to her persona. I think the one that we've all learned to embrace. Tamer, do you necessarily have to admire or like the personality or the character or the icon that you are creating in your art?
Well, to be fair, I have to say 90% I should admire, because I need to have feelings through the process of drawing the artist or the actor or the singer. So the process, this includes watching videos for them, maybe interviews, reading about them, seeing like thousands of their pictures. So I get the full inspiration and get in their mood to present them at the final result as you all see it. So yeah, 90% I should admire. However, sometimes I'm not a fan for X or Y, but I do really appreciate what they did for the art. So I do the illustration for them as a tribute.
And that brings me maybe to the question also of, sort of material gain. I mean, it seems to me clearer and clearer every time I speak with you how much of your art is inspired by just a passion for the music, for the person, for the character, that is coupled with this need to eternalize them within the viewpoint of a whole new generation that is embracing these icons from, the golden age today. How much does the material aspect matter to you now that you're becoming more established? And we'll be talking also about where your art is available, including Society 6, etc., in a moment. But how much, what is the impetus in terms of the financial gain now that you're at a level in your art where it is also available for sale?
Well, I've never thought about the financial income or reward from selling my art because for the first place, I do it for myself because I want to see that art piece and I enjoy the process of producing it. And it's like a therapy for me. For yes, so I really get happy when I see people started to order or to buy my art, but it's not the priority or the main reason behind creating this art.
Spoken like a true artist, Tamer Al Ahmar. Maybe this is a good time to talk about some of the places where people can purchase your art, and they're not necessarily just on paper, are they? I mean, I have to admit that I have a Fairuz mug by Tamer Al Ahmar, or a mug with Fairuz artwork by Tamer Al Ahmar. Where can people find your art and order it?
Well, in Jordan, it's available in some local galleries, such as Jacaranda Images Gallery, Ali and Rama Gallery, and it's available online on society6.com and redbubble.com.
So those two sites, so people would go to them and search for Tamer Al Ahmar and be able to order your beautiful work, not only on, in terms of frameable artwork, but also on everything, I think, ranging from pillows to T-shirts to everything that one can imagine. Tamer, do you get any mail, let's say, or correspondence from fans around the world showing you your art that they've ordered on different media, from perhaps a t-shirt, perhaps a story that comes with it, or and if so, what is your feeling when you see your work being disseminated all over the world in this way?
Well, I think it's one of the best feelings for any artist. And thank you for the technology, because now people from all around the world can inform you or notify you that they got your art. So from every now and then I get a random message on Instagram or Facebook for a room or for someone holding my art or hanging them in their rooms. So it gets me very happy because I like to touch people's life with my art.
And did you envision that your art would become such a part of what I'm going to loosely call, pop culture? I mean, there are quotes where your work has been sort of likened to what Andy Warhol was, perhaps in his day, and continues to be, of course. I mean, to think that this 2013 piece of Asmahan led to this sort of globalization of this genre. And in all modesty, Tamer, I think you are a pioneer in this genre in the Arab world. Did you ever envision it to take off this way?
Actually, no. Honestly.
معك صريح صريح دائما معنا تامر. Perhaps that, I mean, perhaps that is the reason for the success of your work, is that the impetus was never sort of a fame or material gain, but was just made out of pure act of love. And it seems to me that when an artist does that, sooner or later people will appreciate it, because they know that it comes from a place of passion and true commitment and love for the art itself. Yani, thank you for always putting a smile on our faces through the generations, through your art. Tamer, I'd like to segue into something you've alluded to already, and that is what I would loosely call the male series, because I think after attempting to eternalize all these amazing female figures and icons, you started getting questions about, well, what about their male counterparts? Can you tell me about how that stage was born and who you decided to feature as part of the male icon series?
Well, I can't call it a series because I did not do an actual series. I completed the series of Asmahan and the other five singers with two extra male singers, Farid Al-Atrash and Abdul Halim Hafiz. However, before that, I've created an illustration for Abdul Halim with the Beats headset. So yeah, I tried to create some art for the males, but I don't know. I always back to the female singers, maybe because I have more space to play with the hair and the fashion and the colors. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Abdul Halim. How, what kind of pose did you sort of conceptualize for him in your
Well,
art? I mean, he wasn't necessarily on stage the way we picture. You had him with technology involved,
yeah, with the Beats headset. Yeah.
and so I mean, why or how did you imagine Abdul Halim, who passed away what in the mid 70s, sort of with a beat set? I mean, what was the what was how did your thought process go there?
Well, to be honest, I'm not the first one to do that. However, other people maybe did not do it as an illustration. They did it as a graphic design or something. But I did for the beats. I did Abdul Halim and Asmahan, and the idea was to bring them to our current time or generation, and to make them closer to this generation, to show
In
them
fact,
in a different and new context, not expected maybe. Yeah.
yeah, in fact, you're straddling generations, because those of my generation would see it, would enjoy it in a different way. And yes, they're both sort of coexisting in the same picture. Tamer, I wanted to make sure that our viewers, I guess, today understand that although so far we've been focusing on musical icons and sort of male and female, that you have also worked on or created amazing pieces with non-singers. I mean, I'm thinking about a couple of actors also as well. Can you talk about those for a moment?
Well, yes, for sure. When we're talking about um, males, I think the fan base is more attracted to the male actors. Like we have big names at the Egyptian cinema and Arabic cinema, like Rushdie Abaza, even Abdul Halim, Omar al-Sharif. So I know they have a big fan base, and many of their female maybe fans, they want to see them. So yeah, I tried to group them all in one picture. For example, I did also one for Omar Sharif and Fatan Hamama as a couple. So yeah, I tried to put them in different contexts, and
Omar
yeah.
al-Sharif, I don't think needs introduction to our Western audiences. Of course, Lawrence of Arabia, excuse me,
Yeah.
Funny Girl with Barbara Streisand, etc. You know, an Oscar-nominated actor who's managed to make it in Hollywood. You mentioned Faten Hamama, who I think was she his wife at the time, yes. And so she was also an actress and a screen legend who, thanks maybe to Omar al-Sharif, also came to the attention of the West later on because she was an actress in her own right.
True.
Yeah. So let me move on to the Salon pictures. And instead of me attempting to put that piece, which in my opinion now, or at least in my heart, has a very special place, I'd like you to introduce what you tried to do next with these divas after the series had been disseminated so widely.
Well, I started to think about combining them in one picture, like if they were really met together at that couch or that position. So I wanted to imagine that if it was real, how it will look like. And with each pose, you can see, I did one, we are talking about the first one for the females, which is Fairuz, Sabah, and Kulthum. Each one has a different pose reflecting maybe different character. So putting them all together, I think it was something that I wanted to see. I wanted to imagine. So I think people liked it.
Yeah. What was the title of the piece?
Salon النجوم.
Salon al-Nujum. Now the salon, hair salon of the stars. And I think I really want to explain to people here that the piece that you're looking at right now, featuring Sabah, Kulthum, and Fairuz all together, as if they're waiting in the salon for their turn, and each
Exactly.
one either looking at a magazine, sort of waiting. But these three amazing women weren't necessarily ever in the same space as far as we know. They weren't necessarily the best of friends, growing up. They were just, but you imagine them not only together in one picture, but also in this state of waiting. How much thought went into what each icon or iconic figure was going to be doing in the piece? I mean, I think one of them is reading a magazine that has Abdul Halim on it. I mean, talk about, and that looked to me to be a photograph that was incorporated within the digital. Can you talk a little bit more about this melange that you created within this piece, which, as I said, remains my favorite always?
Well, I always try to make or to try different styles in my illustrations. So I thought about using an actual picture for the famous magazine and put it at the illustration beside the floor and the background. So it was a combination maybe of graphics and illustration. And for having these three great singers together, and with the magazine having Abdul Halim, I wanted to show that they wanted to deliver the same message. However, if they were not maybe close friends or in good terms back then, but they all served our great Arabic music history and legacy. So yeah.
And then you decided to follow that by Salon Rijal. What was the second one where you did the male counterpart piece to Salon al-Nujum Sayyidat?
Yes, true. I did the Salon al-Nujum also for the males, and I combined Abdul Halim, Rushdie Abaza, and Omar al-Sharif all together.
Abdul Halim Hafiz, Egyptian singer, right, Tamer? And the second one,
Yes.
Rushdie Abaza, well-known actor.
Mhm.
And the third one, of course, the one and only Omar Sharif all in one. Tamer, shall we move a little bit outside of the personal artistic achievements and to a stage where your work, at least in Amman, Jordan, began to gain notoriety? I'm going to say citywide and then countrywide. And I think one of the stops that I'd really like to talk about today is the Franco-Arab Film Festival. And of course, that was, I think, quite a prestigious invitation to feature your art in what is probably Amman's French community. I'm gonna let you talk about that now. What was that about?
Well, I had the chance to design the poster for the Franco-Arab Film Festival 24th edition. That was in 2018. And it was a great challenge for me that I wanted to make it successful, because at that design, I'm not drawing figures. I'm not drawing, as usual, singers or actors. So I wanted to see if I can do that. And I wanted to see if the final result also looks like Tamer's work. So the final result was really great, and I was really delighted that they loved it, and it went viral or everywhere in Jordan. You can see it in the streets, in the malls. That was a great feeling, actually.
And wasn't there some kind of event, I think, that sort of where you had the French ambassador, was it, came stop by?
Well, yes, the French ambassador was on the at the opening of the Franco-Arab Film Festival, and my design was everywhere. And
MashaAllah.
I should thank the French Institute on Jordan for giving me this opportunity. Beside that, they gave me the opportunity to create like a mini exhibition after that that lasted for like a month at the French Institute in Jordan under the name of Nostalgie. And that was maybe my first mini exhibition, solo exhibition.
Mm-hmm. And I hear you speak a little French, Tamer Al Ahmar, also, which probably
No,
helped.
let's not talk about it.
D'accord. Mais il parle français, mesdames et messieurs. He's just being modest. Tamer Habibi, I want to ask you sort of about, where your career started heading lately. And looking back at the last decade or so, what would you consider to be sort of the best year in your life as an artist so far?
I think it was 2019. It started from the end of 2018, and 2019 was the best, I think.
And why is that?
Shall we talk about the end of 2018 and
Sure,
continue
sure.
to 2019? Well,
Yeah.
in 2018, I had the design for the Franco-Arab Film Festival, and after that, I got the chance to collaborate with the beautiful Jordanian singer Haifa Kama at a great project that I really enjoyed working at, which is her ADM project. It's like a remix for 5 remixes for old songs in a modern way. Maybe it was presented in a modern way as a remix. So I got the chance to design a cover for each track. So, as I love music, how about drawing a single illustration for each track? It was really an interesting and enjoying experience.
Well, let's stay on that, Tamer, actually, and fully realizing that this was one of the reasons you consider 2019 to have been your best year. Let's stay on Haifa Kamal, because I think I've actually had the honor of interviewing her for my Arabology radio show, and I found her to be one of those sort of underrated initially artists with such amazing talent. I'm glad that since then she has been receiving the critical acclaim that she deserves. But how did that relationship come about, and how did it lead to you doing the illustration not only for the album but for each individual track?
Well, actually, I was a fan for Haifa Kama without knowing that I will get the chance to contact her and to work with her directly one day. So I was delighted when Dr. Najati Sulh, her husband, contacted me. He's also her producer and composer. So he contacted me asking me if I'm interested to create the art of their project. And I think it was one of the best experiences in my life, because dealing with such true artists, they really love what they do. They really passionate about true art and music, and we directly clicked. Like I did the design, I showed them, they directly liked it without any edits. So the relationship was amazing. We were in harmony. We enjoyed the whole experience, and because we both were on the same page of liking the same types of music, we were thinking at the same way. So that made the whole experience maybe easier. However, the result was amazing for me. It meant to me a lot.
Yeah, because here we could see Haifa Kamal in different poses, with different outfits, many of them imagined, but each piece sort of reflected the track in a way.
Yeah, it was somehow inspired from the general theme of the whole project, and for each track. However, the challenging part was that for the first time, I'm drawing an artist who's going to see himself or herself, and should agree on what she's seeing. Because, as you know, when I draw like, for example, Fairuz, she's not going to comment on that. But for doing, but for doing this, um, she has to be impressed by her image, because at the end of the day, that is she. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was very challenging. Yeah.
I mean, I think that creates a whole new dimension also in the way your career has been headed. One, in the fact that you are being approached by different artists, different people, and increasingly so, to kind of put the Tamer touch and to sort of hire you to help them artistically with what could be a musical project, what could be other kinds of projects. Does it feel, I don't want to say, does it have more pressure, but sort of when you're dealing with an artist whose approval you need, who's around, you're working together and collaborating, does it in any way stifle the creativity, sort of what we call it, page blanche, the unbridled imagination you would have if you were sort of eternalizing an artist like Kulthum, who's passed on, or does that in a way challenge you as an artist and help you conceptualize things that may not have come to you naturally?
Well, I think it depends on the project and maybe the artist that I'm dealing with. But I'm talking now about this experience because maybe it's, for now, it's the only experience. They inspired me a lot as artists, and they had already an ideas about what they want. And luckily, we were thinking the same way, so it wasn't very difficult. But the challenge is to give it its value, the like you are showing, or you are launching a project with new music and with the new digital art that it's going to be the background for the YouTube video, maybe it's going to be the cover on the music applications. So it's a big responsibility because it's the first thing people see before they hear the music. So I wanted to show it the right way. So yeah, I think they inspired me and they helped me to complete this mission.
Absolutely. Now, we mentioned 2019 as Tamer Al Ahmar's best year, quote unquote, because I think also that was the year where you sort of crossed oceans and came to the attention of the American public, the Arab American public, but also the American public in general, and that is through Harvard University. Now, can you tell me about this amazing opportunity? I mean, we're talking about what is often ranked as the #1 school in the United States. And how did that relationship begin?
Well, this experience proves that all what I've said is all linked together. Um, Hannah Jabri is the co-chair for the Arab conference at Harvard, has bought my art from Society 6. And one day she decided to show me that she bought it. So randomly she sent me on Instagram an image for her beautiful apartment with my artwork there. And I was very impressed and happy. After that, she contacted me, introducing herself and asking me if I'm interested in an opportunity at Harvard. So that was on December 2018. However, the annual Arab conference was on March 2019. Well, the idea was about participating at the annual Arab conference at Harvard University for the period of 3 days. I had my own booth where I was selling my art printed on different forms. And it was the first time I was dealing with maybe my clients directly. So the experience was great because I could have seen their interaction, their feedback, their comments. So I was
Yeah, I
selling
mean,
more art. And
and you were seeing it in front of you spontaneously because as an artist whose work is sold, separately, you seldom get to see the reaction of the person once they unveil your piece. I think in this way you were able to sort of directly deal with your American public, and sort of get immediate feedback. Now that what is the name of the conference, Tamer? Do you remember the exact name of the conference at Harvard?
well, it was the annual Arab conference, and the theme of that year was reimagining home. So they
Wow.
thought that my art goes with the theme.
Absolutely. Now, not to celebrity drop in terms of names, but that event is also often attended and supported by many sort of Arab American celebrities. I'm referring specifically to a moment where, well, I hate to call him Gigi Hadid's father, Muhammad Hadid, because he's much more than just that. I mean, he's an accomplished individual and athlete and a representative from Jordan and of Palestinian origin. I mean, he stands on his own. But he was at the conference.
Yes, he was at the conference, and I got the chance to meet him, and he saw my art.
What a moment! Was it different, sort of relating to your Arab American audience who came to the conference, who looked at the exhibition, than it is when you deal with your own sort of local community in Amman? Was the reaction to your art in any way different in America than it was in Amman?
Definitely, because seeing my art or the style of my art at the West, reminding them of home. So when they interact with my art, they showed like longing to certain memories of their homeland or their families, or beautiful periods of their life. So the interaction was great, and I think this was the message that I wanted one day to deliver or to reach out to people with, which is to touch their feelings with my art, whether to remind them about their home or good memories, or their loved ones. So to see this directly with and interact with the audience directly, I made sure that I get that message delivered.
Tamer, can I move on to another event that happened towards the end of 2019? And that is an event that I was fortunate enough to be able to attend at some point. I'm talking about your first, shall I call it your first real exhibition in Jordan, in Amman, where the whole focus and for an extended period of time was on your work. Can you tell me about how 2019 wrapped up for you?
Well, I ended up 2019 with my first solo exhibition. After 7 years of doing this type of art, I felt that I'm ready to make an exhibition. So it was on December 2019. It lasted for the whole month at the Jacaranda Images Gallery. And it was titled Lissa Faker, which is the title of one of the famous songs of Kulthum. And the exhibition was sponsored by Bank Aude. It was also a great experience, because to see all your artistic journey presented in one place, and to see how people interact with it, it was overwhelming for me.
How did people interact with your art, as far as you know? I mean, I'm sure you were there for the opening and for most of the exhibit, but certainly you must have received reactions from people who attended the exhibit, whether you were there in person or not.
Well, as we said, I have experienced the reaction of people from the West and from the Arab Americans. Now it was the time to experience it in my home country. So the interaction was great, actually, and what was impressive that I got very positive feedback from different generations, like from young people to senior people. Let's call them senior. Yeah, and to have also my family at the exhibition, it was very rewarding for me, because they supported me all the way. So I felt that it was like a celebration for at the end of the journey. It's not the end, I mean, for that 7 years.
uh, Certainly, having your family and friends around you on a night like this would be very special. I was not able to attend your opening night, as you know, Tamer, but I did manage to come in later, and you took me down, and we looked at the pieces, and there was something. Just in the way they were displayed, between the lighting and the way they were, that I felt, had gained a new dimension, because thus far we had been used to seeing your artwork, online, in digital format. We'd order it, but to actually see it all come together within the confines of Jacaranda Gallery in Amman, one of Amman's truly auspicious galleries, I think. In a way, did that function as a summary of your artistic career, sort of your whole journey within the enclosed space of a gallery?
Well, when I was doing these pieces from 2013 till 2019, I've never put them all together. And after I had them at the exhibition, I was like, wow, they all belong to each other and they all have the same soul. So that was very rewarding for me. And I made sure that I'm doing the right thing that I love. And I guess people could have touched that and felt that through the exhibition. However, I should thank Jacaranda Images Gallery for giving me also the space to use like the music that I have chose for the exhibition. I have chosen some certain tracks to be played at the background. So I guess the whole atmosphere was the reason behind that feeling.
Yeah, because people could sort of buy the artwork already in a beautiful frame that was fully framed, or they could also order the art for later delivery. I remember, I think I saw you sign a couple of pieces when I was with you at the exhibit. Yeah, they were saying, well, Tamer, since you're here, would you mind autographing or signing some of these pieces? That was probably one of the nicest rewards, I bet, Tamer, at the end of 2019, in terms of finishing the year with this exhibit. Did the exhibit, or even your work in general, how has that been received by the media, especially in Jordan?
Well, the exhibition was media sponsored by Mazaj FM. It's and Dahab Radio. They are a local radio stations in Jordan, and they have contacted me after we announced about the exhibition. So I was lucky to have them, because also I respect their orientation and the music they deliver.
I guess I would like to sort of expand the question a little bit to the Jordanian, the artistic scene in Jordan. The Jordanian, often maybe underrated, but yet truly deserving movement, this art movement that I'm seeing in your generation especially. How would you describe the Jordanian art scene these days? And would you say that these artists such as yourself are receiving the media attention that they deserve?
Well, let me say that I was lucky, and maybe because the period that I've been presenting my art to the market was the right timing, maybe, but I was very welcomed. However, I think we are at the time of social media, and the artists should go the extra mile and learn how to market themselves and get their art reached to as many people as possible. So depending on only the art, the local art market, or maybe the local galleries only, without trying to market yourself and to reach out people, you won't get that attention that you want as an artist. So it's you need to make an effort.
Yeah, but having said that, how would you describe the actual art scene? I mean, even if it's not sort of digitally represented, is there sort of a variety of artists coming out of Jordan as we speak? Are there galleries? Are there people interested? Has there become a market for this sort of relatively new art form?
Well, in Jordan specifically, and in Middle East generally, we have many talents. And every day I explore and learn about a new artist. So the art scene is amazing. The more you look, the more you find. But maybe it's underrated, or not taking the attention they deserve.
I know I've exhausted you, Tamer, in this interview, and I promise not to keep grilling you, especially since it's well after midnight in Amman. but I would be amiss if I didn't go into the year 2020 and a current project that's going on that is not only sort of artistically enriching, but is also is a charity that is very dear to your heart, one that attempts to help, perhaps even in these difficult times, people who may not be as privileged as so many of us. Can you tell me a little bit about how the year 2020 began for you, leading up to this charitable project in which you're currently involved in?
Well, actually, at the beginning of 2020, I had too many ideas and plans. And after finishing 2019 with an exhibition, I was planning to do as much as I can from the art production so I can make maybe another exhibition this year. But you see that the situations that we are passing through are really challenging. However, I tried to take advantage of that opportunity of staying at home to have that space to create art. So I tried to explore new styles, and now we are about to launch a great collaboration and project with also Hannah Jabri that I have mentioned from the Arab Conference at Harvard. She will be launching her online market under the title of Souq Al Hanaa. And the first project or the first items at Souq Al Hanaa would be postcards, a set of postcards for designs that I get the honor to design them as an initiative to support the refugees in overseas and local varied. These postcards would be available for sale on Etsy.com, and the proceeds will go to support the families in need.
Wow. And so are there any plans to perhaps expand to Amazon also in terms of these pieces?
Yes. Hopefully soon they will be available on Amazon, but for now they are going to be on Etsy. They will be for as Eid greetings. They have the figures that I love for sure, Sabah, Fairuz, and Kulthum, with an extra design.
And so they're available as a set or sort of individual pieces?
No, they would be available as a set.
As a set, sort of a card size set with envelopes, if I'm not mistaken. And many of them have sort of the Eid greetings or other greetings in there. Such a beautiful, worthwhile way to support an artist as well as a cause in one. So again, I'm going to have you mention that right now they're available, you said, on Etsy?
Yes, Etsy, etsy.com.
In fact, we should mention that in the description to this video, we're going to include links. So if you're not getting this, ladies and gentlemen, just look in the description under the video, and you'll be able to see links not only to the project that we're talking about, but also to Tamer Al Ahmar's Insta page, Facebook page, and certainly to, in all modesty, my two previous interviews with Tamer, in which he spoke about his work. I'd also like to perhaps send a shout out to someone I don't know, Tamer, but thanks to you, I've come to admire, and that is Hannah Jabri, who seems to be doing an amazing job at Harvard as almost a cultural ambassador between, or a cultural bridge between East and West. Are there any other people that you can think of, Tamer, to whom you'd like to send a shout out to during this blessed month or in general?
Well, I should thank all the people who work with us at the annual Arab Conference, because we were doing a fundraising to support some NGOs who are providing services and support to refugees in different countries. As well as I should thank you supporting me all the way and giving me the chance to interact with the global audience, whether it was a written article or a recorded radio interview or this interview. So thank you.
It is my pleasure, Tamer. In fact, I think with the launching of this new online series of interviews through the Arabology show, I think I should be thanking you for being such a dynamic guest and setting the pace for many episodes to come. Tamer, will you stay in touch with us and keep us updated about not only the state of the current project, as I hope people will think about or seriously consider supporting this cause where you're supporting a local very talented Jordanian artist, as well as a cause that is much needed today. But will you promise to stay with us and keep us updated about all your future projects, Mr. Al Ahmar?
For sure.
طيب، وخلينا نختم، لانه انا دائما عندي هاي العاده يا تامر لما كنت في الاذاعه. مستمعينا العرب خاصه في امريكا دائما بينبسطوا يسمعوا هيك كلمتين في نهايه اللقاء من الفنان او من يعني الفنان اجمالا باللغه العربيه.
اكيد. بدي اشكرك على هالمقابله، وبدي أشكر كل شخص فاهم علي حاليا من الأشخاص اللي اشتروا ماي آرت أو دعموني خلال كل هالفترة اللي عم نحكي من 2013 ل 2019. وإن شاء الله بضلني عم بحسسهم بمشاعر حلوة من خلال ماي آرت. وشكرا.
يا رب. يلا نتمنى لك دوام النجاح والتقدم. Tamer Al Ahmar, a pleasure to speak with you. This is our third, but not our last interview. We look forward to staying in touch with you. We wish you blessed Ramadan, and also we wish nothing but the best for you. Take care of your health, take care of everybody around you, and most of all, Habibi, thank you for being so generous and so kind throughout the years.
Thank you, Dr. Salti. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.